Most people use Gemini like a chatbot. That single mistake is costing them a competitive business advantage. In this 8-minute video, you will get workflows that put you ahead of your competition.
Right now, an AI just made a strategic decision that a boardroom full of executives completely missed. Businesses using AI and those still ignoring it are no longer separated by a gap, by a cliff. Every morning, professionals open laptops and face the same overwhelming wall of emails, reports, and stacking deadlines. They research competitors manually. They draft proposals from scratch. They make decisions on gut feeling, not data. Hours vanish into tasks that add no strategic value. The modern professional is busy but rarely productive. What if you could hand the noise to something that never tires, never forgets, and never stops? This is Gemini, not a chatbot, not an assistant. The most advanced business intelligence layer ever built. Built on Google's most powerful foundation model, Gemini processes text, images, code, and audio simultaneously without breaking stride. One interface to research, draft, analyze, and execute. No tab switching, no copying between 5 different tools. Let us start where every smart business decision begins. Research, the foundation that separates real strategy from guesswork. Traditional research means hours scanning articles, cross-referencing sources, and hoping you have not missed a critical competitor move. Gemini replaces that entire process. Feed it a topic, and it synthesizes thousands of data points into intelligence. Ask it to analyze a competitor's public strategy. Within seconds, Gemini maps their positioning, pricing, and direction. It does not merely retrieve information. It connects patterns across industries that analysts need weeks to spot. Upload a 60-page market report and ask one question. Gemini returns the exact insight buried on page 43. Layer that research with Google search grounding. Gemini does not hallucinate. It verifies claims against the live web. Every claim sourced. Every figure cross-referenced. This is research you can actually stake a real business decision on. Research is only half the equation. The other half is turning intelligence into content that actually moves people. Gemini generates business documents, social campaigns, investor decks, and client proposals, all contextually aware of your brand voice. It does not produce generic filler. Gemini adapts tone, structure, and depth based on who will read it. Research and content creation alone would justify adopting Gemini, but that is barely scratching the surface of it. The real revolution is not what Gemini knows. It is how it works inside your existing systems completely.
You saw what Gemini knows. Now watch what it does. When you let it inside your workflow.
Most professionals see AI as a research tool, something you ask questions to, but thinking is already obsolete. Gemini's real power is not what it knows. It is what it does inside systems you already use. It opens Google Sheets with thousands of rows of raw sales data. Without Gemini, that is hours of pivots. With Gemini in Sheets, type one sentence. It analyzes every column, finds the trends, and builds your summary. It does not just crunch numbers. Gemini tells you what the data means for your entire next quarter. Drag a chart from Sheets into a Google Doc. Gemini writes the executive summary paragraph around it automatically. One prompt turned raw data into a board-ready document. No formatting, no rewriting, no wasted afternoon at all. Data only matters if it reaches the right people at the right time. Communication has to be flawless. Inside Gmail, Gemini reads an entire thread, understands the context, and drafts a precise reply in your tone. It does not write robotic filler. Gemini mirrors your communication style because it learns from your sent messages. Imagine scaling that across an entire organization. Every team member drafting faster, responding sharper, communicating with total precision. A client sends a complex request at 9 in the morning. By 9:15, your team has already responded. That response was not rushed. Gemini pulled context from 3 previous threads and 2 internal documents before drafting. These are production workflows running right now inside companies that understood the shift before their competitors ever did. Companies adopting Gemini at scale are not just saving time, they operate at a velocity competitors cannot match. The gap widens every week because Gemini is not static. It evolves. And what comes next changes everything.
Do not go anywhere. What comes after this break is the single reason most businesses will adopt Gemini.
Welcome back. Before the break, we showed how Gemini transforms data analysis and client communication at enterprise scale. We have covered 4 use cases so far: research, content, data, communication. The 5th one is the game changer. Every professional has a task they dread, the one that eats 2 hours but creates 0 strategic value. What if that task disappeared from your calendar, not delegated to someone else? Eliminated entirely by intelligent automation. That is the final piece, and it is the one capability separating casual users from true power users. Gemini's automation engine. It does not help you work, it works for you. Part 3 shows you how.
So far, Gemini made you efficient. What comes next makes you dangerous. This is where leaders are built.
In Part 2, we showed you Gemini the operator, the tool that executes. Now meet Gemini the strategist. Most people use AI to answer questions. The professionals rewriting their industries use it to ask better ones. You are entering a new market. You need a full competitive landscape analysis before the board meeting Friday. That used to take a consultant, 2 analysts, and a week of research. With Gemini, it takes minutes. Feed Gemini your target market, and it builds a SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats mapped instantly. It does not stop at the matrix. Ask a follow-up, and Gemini drills into any quadrant with evidence. Ask it to run 3 different market entry scenarios: conservative, moderate, and aggressive, each with projected outcomes mapped. Each scenario includes risk assessments, resource requirements, and timeline projections. This is not guesswork. This is modeled strategy. Here is what makes it powerful. Gemini remembers context across your conversation. Every refinement builds on the last. Ask it to brainstorm product names for a launch. Gemini generates dozens ranked by memorability and market fit. Ask it to stress test the top 3 against competitor positioning. Gemini finishes the analysis before your coffee does. This is not a feature demonstration. It is a fundamental shift in how strategic decisions get made. Executives who master this will not just keep pace with their industry, they will define where it goes. Right now, competitors are reading about AI. The question is whether you are still reading while they build. This advantage is not linear. It compounds. Every week, Gemini widens the gap between leaders and the rest. This is not science fiction. These tools are live today, available now. The only barrier is the decision. Every feature we covered is free inside Google Workspace. Gemini is built into tools you already pay for. Professionals who move first will set the standard. The rest will spend years trying to catch up. AI already changed how you work. That is not the question. The question is whether you even noticed. Gemini changes how you work. Not because it replaces you, because it gives your expertise real scale. The future is not about doing more. It is about thinking bigger. Gemini is how you get there. We do not just report on the future, we decode it. This is Nova Tech, frontier of discovery. If this opened your eyes to what's next, hit that like button. Subscribe to Nova Tech and stay at the frontier of discovery. There's more to uncover. Click the video on your screen now and continue the journey with us.